Shalom and greetings to you. Are you guys ready? We're going to be looking at, are we ready? Are we ready for the times and the seasons? Do you have oil in your lamp? I just happened to get some oil in a lamp of my own, and there were 5 wise virgins in the Bible that it says they were prepared and they had oil in their lamps. And so as we come into trying times, we want to be like the wise virgins who had oil in their lamps, because the unwise did not, and they missed the marriage supper of the bridegroom. And of course that's picturing our marriage to the Messiah and the new kingdom. We're going to be going over, as you can see in the background, you can see Jupiter and Saturn in the background, and there is a conjunction that's going to happen on December 21st. It begins December 21st and it goes through December 25th. And we want to look at what could be some possible meaning behind this sign, because this happens to take place on Saturnalia, which is not the birthday of Yahushua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ as we know him. It is actually the birthday of the sun god, and Apollo or Helios or Nimrod, many names for the sun sun god. And I want us to look more deeply into this, because apparently I'm not the only one who has had this revelation. So this takes place at the winter solstice, and some people will try to say, well, this is an accident. But guys, let's take a closer look at this, okay? Right. So, bear with me, guys, as I work on through this software, as I try and do this video. I do think this is a very important sign in the heaven that we're going to see, and it does not fall on an appointed time of the Most High, unless you consider the solstices an appointed time. Whatever the case may be, it is falling at a significant time, this sign, because it's falling on the winter solstice, which is what the pagans celebrated, celebrating the birth of the sun god and Tammuz, and they would then weep for Tammuz, and that would bring them to Easter, and then they would do it all over again and have temple prostitution, and then the babies would be born around 9 months later, around December 25th, then they would sacrifice them at Easter. So it would be a cycle that the pagans would celebrate. And now it's been associated with, of course, our Messiah, when in reality it has nothing to do with the Messiah. But I've had some interesting revelations about this sign, and I think some other people have too. But this is not the Bethlehem star, guys, as has been alleged that this could be the Bethlehem star. Oh, it's a sign of his birthday, a special Christmas. No, guys, that is, people are going to be very deceived. But good things are not what's ahead for the world. And this is a big sign. I have it set in Jerusalem, so we're viewing in Jerusalem. You see the zodiac here. You see the constellations. And you see these two wandering stars that we, of course, refer to as planets. And we see it here between these demonic-looking, creepy-looking constellations, Capricornus and Sagittarius. I guess that's Sagittarius there. But and those things look like they're half one creature and half the other, which is totally a demonic thing, that the fallen angels created all these different hybrids of creatures before the flood. But anyway, yeah, we see the zodiac. Now, back in 2017, we saw all this activity around Virgo and Leo, and of course the Revelation 12 sign, which is in Revelation chapter 12. And Jupiter was in the womb for a little over 9 months, and then came out on the Feast of Trumpets in 2017, September 23rd. So that's over there. Leo representing the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and Virgo representing the bride, the Israel, the bride of Mashiach, the woman, Mary, the Virgin Mary, Eve from the garden, Adam and Eve, the prophecy of the seed. It all connects with Virgo and Leo, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So we come over here, and guys, you just bear with me. I'm going to cycle through a little bit. If you see at the bottom of the screen, we see the date. It says 2020, 12/10, and we're just going to cycle on through a little bit here, and we're going to watch this thing really. This is a perfect conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. They'll be right on top of each other. So let's cycle it through. There's December 11th. Okay, a little faster. December 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Okay, slow down. All right, we're on December 19th. They're right on top of each other there. See that? And let's pause it right there. So we're in Jerusalem here, and I'm pretty sure it's around sunset of 2020, which is when they would start their next day. So this really is occurring right at the beginning of the solstice, December 21st. And so there you have it. And if you keep the time going, if we cycle through it, because the solstice is from the 21st to about the 25th. It's kind of like the old 3 days and 3 nights. Kind of, the sun goes to its lowest point, and you have the shortest day of the year, right? And then the sun finally comes back up, and you have the days start getting longer again, and then you start heading towards the spring equinox, which was their favorite time to sacrifice babies for Ishtar, the moon goddess, because she's the one who gave them Tammuz, who was birthed from Nimrod, from the sun god. The moon god and sun god came together, and that's the story, and that's the pagan story, Saturnalia. So we have Saturn and Jupiter, okay? And And here we are, 12/26. They're starting to come apart again on December 26th. See, it's a perfect conjunction for, yes indeed, Christmas and Saturnalia. And I'm sure many Christian people are gonna be excited. Oh, this is a sign of something good. But I'm going to talk about something on the contrary, guys, on the contrary to that. So let's stop it there. There we go. And bear with me as I share my screen here. Yeah, nothing good about Saturnalia. Nothing great about Christmas, guys. So if we ask, when is the winter solstice? Here it is. It's Monday, December 21st, 8:30 a.m. And that's Eastern time. So it's actually occurring around sunset. This would be sunset in Jerusalem. So in Israel, that's right when this conjunction comes together. Now, I had looked up, I have this book which I highly recommend. It's called The Chronological Gospels and The Life and 70-Week Ministry of the Messiah. And if you have interest in heavenly signs and prophetic meanings and fulfillments of the scripture, this is the book to get when it comes to understanding how Yahushua the Messiah fulfilled the Torah and the feasts, and he would have actually been born at tabernacles in September. And this goes over all that a great sign took place September 12th in the year, it says September 12th, 3 BCE, before the Common Era. And it calls that the first day of the 7th month. It says the great sign happens. And this book calls some of the wandering stars and the set stars by their original names. So Jupiter is righteous, Sedek. Jupiter would have been Sedek. And that got me thinking about the original names of the Hebrew names and what the ancients would have referred to these planets as. And that got me to thinking more. And in the scriptures, we see, well, first of all, let's see. We can connect this to Rem Fan. And let's see, Amos 5:26 right here. Hopefully you guys are hanging with me. I'm doing this, I know I'm not live. I'm doing it, I'm pretending as though I'm live though. Here we go, King James Version. But ye have borne the tabernacle of Moloch and Kiyun, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And I got to thinking about the original names that they gave to the stars and the planets. And here we see about Kiyun. Kiyun was the Hebrew and possibly Babylonian Assyrian connection for the name of Saturn. This was the star of Saturn. And again, we see that quoted in the New Testament in Acts 7:43. It remained a problem. It was a problem that was not only ancient, but they continued this. Yea, in Acts 7:43, yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your God, Rem Fan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So they still had the problem. They still had this Babylonian pagan worship, sun god worship, and their star, their wandering star, which now they call a planet. There's no such thing as planets, but they called it Rem Fan. And if you Google the name Rem Fan, you will quickly see what Rem Fan is. There it is, what they call the Star of David. That is Rem Fan. Here you even see it on the Pope's hat there. You see he's got that. They're all connected, guys. They are all connected in this Rem Fan worship, Saturn worship, Saturnalia, okay, which happens, is celebrated around the winter solstice. And it just so happens that this sign, this incredible sign, this is the first time of this happening, well, probably in ever. I'm not 100% sure, but this would be a very unique, completely rare sign, and we'll look at that in a minute. But going back to this here book, the chronological Gospels, it gives them, the stars, some of the original names, like Jupiter, it has a Sedek, and it comes into conjunction first with Noga, which is Venus, and as it proceeds towards Regulus, which is Melech. So Regulus is the head star of the constellation of Leo, the lion. So at the birth of Mashiach, Sedek comes in conjunction with Melech, and you have what? Melchizedek. Melchizedek, righteous king, is what that literally means. Melchizedek, righteous king. So we see these prophetic things taking place. And this book goes over the great sign. It even connects it to Revelation 12, which I did look at it in the software. There is quite an alignment of the stars that takes place around that time, 3 BC, which actually it's the year 2 on Stellarium. There's a slight difference because of how they reckon the year 0. And the days are off as well because of the Gregorian calendar adds in 10 days. So there is a difference between this book and Stellarium, but you can still find the signs fairly easily. You just have to be aware it's not exactly the same date between this book and Stellarium. And it goes on to describe how many people think, I used to think as a child, as the star of Bethlehem was some kind of, just some kind of light that kind of hovered right above the stable and the manger of Jesus, and they saw it hovering right there, and kind of like you see on a big Christmas tree or something at the top, something hovering right above. But in reality, it was a real heavenly sign, and these wise men were very wise. They understood the heavens, and they had to know how to read the stars and the progression of the stars and what was going on. And that's exactly what the Apostle Paul says in Romans chapter 10. He says, they know the gospel. The stars told them. And that's exactly what happened. The stars anointed King Yahushua HaMashiach at his birth. And that was what the wise men saw. So this goes over it was actually 7 conjunctions that took place. And I won't go over them all, but His star is Tzedek, righteous. That was considered his star. And it's Jupiter today comes into conjunction with Melech, the king. And again, the next conjunction, his star, Jupiter, comes into conjunction with Melech. And that's a few months later. And then the next conjunction, his star, Tzedek, the righteous Jupiter, comes into conjunction with Venus. And that's another month later, June 17th, 2 BC. And then another conjunction, his star, Tzedek, the righteous Jupiter, comes into a mass conjunction with Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And Mercury, it says, is Kabab. Venus is Noga. Ma'adim is Mars. And then another conjunction, his star, Tzedek, which is Jupiter, the righteous, comes into conjunction with Noga, Venus. And that is on October 13th, 2 BCE. So this is what the wise men are seeing take place. And of course, how much does that remind us of this Stellarium software here, as we just went over it? Let's see, full screen. We just went over it, how these stars, actually what they call planets, Saturn and Jupiter. So we have righteous, and we have Saturn, Rem Fan. Rem Fan being crowned righteous on the pagan holiday of Saturnalia. So this is a big deal. And, you know, I really did not think that this was any big deal. I wasn't even paying any attention to it until my friend kept on commenting about September 21st, September 21st, something's going to happen. People keep saying that, and I'm like, okay, all right. And, you know, then I think she mentioned about it's the first time in 800 years. So, yeah, that's what this phys.org says. In their closest alignment in 800 years, Jupiter and Saturn will create a wonder, a Christmas star. So there you see it, a Christmas star, of course. And they would want you to believe it. They would love you to believe that, oh, this is great, Christmas star, yay, Star of Bethlehem, yay, baby Jesus. Nothing to do with baby Jesus, guys. Nothing to do with that. The lousiest year in living memory will end with an offering of heavenly wonder, a Christmas star. It's actually the alignment of two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, which happens every 20 years or so, but it's not always in December, and it's been nearly 800 years, we're talking Middle Ages, since they got this close. Technically, the two largest planets in our solar system will be hundreds of millions of miles apart, but December 21st, from our vantage point, they'll look like they're nearly touching, creating a radiant point of light that's being dubbed the Christmas star or Star of Bethlehem for obvious reasons, you know. And if you read this, you think, oh man, this is wonderful, you know, but in reality, guys, we're not talking about hundreds of millions of miles apart, okay? We're not talking about the Star of Bethlehem. That is false. The Star of Bethlehem was what I was just explaining to you from this book. And it did occur. The Star of Bethlehem occurred in 2015. This is something different. This is a different deal, guys. Rem Fan, their star. This is Saturn. Saturnalia being crowned righteous on their own time, that it's not one of Yahuah's appointed times. It's one of those that the pagans would worship. So I think we should have our eyes open to see if this could possibly be a crowning of some kind. If someone significant, a figure stands up and seems to, whoever it could be. I mean, even here in America, we're not 100% sure who our next president is going to be because Trump has not stepped down from the throne. So we're still waiting to see. Maybe something significant will happen between Trump and Joe Biden. We'll see. But I just wanted to really point this sign out. I think this is really significant. And first time in 800 years they're this close, but that doesn't mean that 800 years ago this sign happened on the winter solstice, which would be another interesting thing to check. So let's look at real quick what we're talking about, the man of sin being revealed, if this could possibly be what's happening as we are staring in the face of dark times, the dark winter, the great reset, this possible forced vaccination, all these things coming together right at this time. And we'll soon be 3.5 years from the Revelation 12 sign, which occurred on September 23rd, 2017. So let's go ahead and read in 2 Thessalonians 2 what we're talking about, the man of sin being revealed. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Yahushua, Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day of Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. Here we go. So we see that falling away that has happened little by little, the son of perdition, and we can completely see how, here you go, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Guys, I mean, what are we talking about? Who does that? The Pope does that. He sits in the temple like he's God, giving instructions straight from God. And he worships Rem Fan. He's got it on his hat, right? The man of sin, this falling away started taking place a very, very long time ago. And Babylon is directly connected to the Pope. And one of his marks is directly connected to Sunday worship. So all the more reason to come out of this Sunday, false Sabbath, Christmas, false holidays, pagan ones, in place of Yahuwah's appointed times, which he said in Genesis 1:14. That's what the sun, moon, and stars were given, were for appointed times and the seasons and all this. And we are about to shift seasons as we go into the winter solstice here. So let's see, keep reading. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told ye these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. Revealed in his time. Could this be what we are looking at? For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked one be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So we see the strong delusion. We see it everywhere you look. We see it in the cosmology, talking about these things being millions of billions of miles away. We see it in the sun god worship pagan holidays of Christmas and Easter and many more, and forsaking the Hebrew roots of our faith. And of course, they've even invented this this false rapture coming, which I've talked about. He shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. He's going to come and destroy the Antichrist. So how could he come before the tribulation? As you know, the church gradually got further and further away, where the original Roman Catholic Church at the Vatican, they tried to replace the assembly of Yasharel altogether. They tried to replace Israel altogether. And they did away with the Old Testament altogether, and they sought to replace and join Jesus Christ to all the pagan things. And as Protestant reformers came along in the 1500s and 1600s, when the English scriptures started to become available, Protestants said, what in the world? Israel is still God's chosen people. And how come the church is nowhere to be found in Revelation and in the prophecies? And all the prophecies are relating directly to Israel. Well, they never came out of the church. They stayed in the church, but they simply said, oh, well, the church gets raptured away, and then God deals with Israel and the tribulation, and they have to go through all the judgment. But we, the church, escape his judgment. We don't get any kind of tribulation or judgment. And that's what happened over the process of time. The church was invented to replace Israel, replace the chosen people, and then they had to reinstall Israel for only the time of the tribulation and invent a secret rapture. But here we see he comes, he destroys the Antichrist with the brightness of his coming, and that happens at the end of the tribulation. And the resurrection happens at the last day, guys. So you can just see how this great falling away has taken place over time. And whereas the scripture became available and they could have realized, wait, we're supposed to graft into Israel, not be part of the church. They could have come out of the church altogether, but the English Protestant reformers, they did not come out of the church. They just became a branch off of the church and retained many of the pagan holidays and the worshiping on Sunday, the venerable day of the sun, instead of remembering the Shabbat, the Sabbath. Now, interestingly, looking into the names of these planets and what they were originally called, Rem Fan and Kiyun. Now, another name that I found for Rem Fan was actually Shabti. Shabtai. And you can see how closely that relates to what? Shabtai is another name for Saturn in Hebrew. Shabbat. Shabtai, Shabbat. So they made the Shabbat to honor Saturn. And we still see that today. We still see Saturday as the day of Saturn. We still see that the seventh day, at least in English, we see that it's named after Saturn. And that started early on. That was one of the early names where they called Saturn, the star, the planet, they called it Shabti. And they directly connected it to the Shabbat. And they directly were worshiping Saturn. You can see why their star was Saturn, because it's got the rings around it. It's kind of a cool looking planet, right? Unique looking. Well, they worshipped it. They gave it great significance. And so there you have it. There you have it. They directly imposed right over top of the Shabbat this worship of Saturn and these pagan ways. And there's all kinds of occult stuff you can get into relating to this. You see not the Star of David here, and it's not the Star of Bethlehem occurring here either. So just a prophetic warning. I wanted to get out there and go over some of this, guys, and be able to talk about the significance of this sign in the zodiac. And I think that's all I had to say. I really appreciate everybody. Like, share, subscribe. And I pray you guys really turn back to the Father's original ways, because repentance is we're at a time where the knowledge has increased. We're being made accountable to truth. And if we do not have oil in our lamps, if we are not prepared for this dark winter, this great reset, all the things that they're telling us, then we're going to be disappointed. And I just send out a call, guys. Turn back to the seventh-day Sabbath on Saturday. Turn back to the Passover, the upcoming Passover. Guys, if you want to be passed over by the death angel, you gotta keep the Passover. That's one of the things of being delivered from spiritual Egypt and from Babylon, and not being in Babylon, is that we return to the Father's original ways. That Christianity today will argue all day long with you that the reasons why we should not keep the Father's holidays, we should not follow His law, His Torah. And it's just incredible when you see the opposition, the lack of desire to follow the commandments. Not because anyone could do it perfectly. Obviously, only Yahushua HaMashiach could do it perfectly, guys. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and complete this video. I believe I have said everything I need to say regarding this great sign, or maybe not so great, because it's bad news. It's saying Saturn is Tzedek, Saturn is righteous. Well, that's what we call Antichrist, anti-Messiah. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you on the next recording.